then over a period of time, there have been additional filters that have been added after the POETs. And I believe some of the POETs are 2 vessels and some are 3 vessels. Is that right?
Yeah, most are 2.
Could I just do some brief introduction on who Nate is?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm George Hyler, I'm a environmental scientist and attorney for Mass Natural Fertilizer on Portage Hill Road. And at the request of the Board of Health, I coordinated with Nate, who is Nate Morse Brothers Plumbing, who has been contracted by Mass Natural Fertilizer to do the installation of the point of entry treatment systems, as well as maintain those systems for the benefit of, in response to DEP, the MCP, Massachusetts Contingency Plan, and the required regulations and obligations thereunder. So as a result, there were some questions that came up in previous Board of Health meetings regarding, okay, what's a POET system, how's it configured? Because they're all basically the same. With that said, I'll hand the mic over to Nate Morris, who runs this and is familiar with the actual configuration. But more importantly, this is kind of beyond permitting. It's more of an informational, like we talked about. So on the record, I just wanted to make sure that we all know that that Nate is a plumber, a very good plumber, and that that questions beyond his scope of work, just be cognizant of. He can only answer so much. All right.
Yeah, and we realize that, and I think you'll find that most of my questions anyways are of a very general nature, and they're questions that we've been asking for some time, and we had hoped to just, I think it was you who indicated that Nate was the guy who could probably bring us up to date with what's going on.
I agree.
So, with that being said, Nate, I guess what I'm just asking is, does that information on the configurations in each home exist, and how do we get our hands on it?
Yeah, I actually have diagrams I could send you. So I mean, generally the POET itself, how that's laid out.
Could you have speak this way?
What's that?
Could the person who's speaking speak this way?
If you could just speak up a little bit.
Do you know how the POET itself is configured, or are you just asking me what additions to POET?
Well, if you look through the reports that are published on a quarterly basis, you get the feeling that not all of them are exactly the same. Some have sediment filters in front of them, some have more than one sediment filter in front of them.
Yes, I mean the general idea of the POET system is always the same. You start off with a sediment filter to keep your POET tanks clear. We adjust that sediment filter compared to how much sediment is coming into the house. So we started off with something that was pretty
Can you zoom up?
We found that a lot of the houses up there have an excessive amount of sediment compared to a normal house anywhere else. So in those cases, we have bumped up the sediment filter to either just one bigger one, or in a few cases, we've done 3 manifolded sediment filters if it needs it, to make sure that it'll last between maintenance cycles without clogging. So then you go through the POET. You have your post sediment filter, because we don't want any of the carbon that might knock loose getting into any of the other systems, including faucets and whatnot. You have your UV light, which is standard with a carbon system. It's more of a precautionary thing for any possible bacteria. Doesn't mean that there is bacteria. It's more of a precaution. And then, in some cases, we've ended up putting iron filters or softeners for both, because carbon has a tendency to amplify the effects of iron. It doesn't amplify the iron. Any of these houses that have iron always had iron. It's not caused by the PFAS. It's just the carbon filters, which take
at the recommended, under the water tests that we received, copies of the water tests, there are a recommended set of filters that, the people who did the testing, recommended.
Yeah, so the ones that have recommendations on them are actually a, filter manufacturer that trying to sell us filters along with the tests. We do them now through Neshoba Analytical, they have a better testing facility and stuff, not that those other tests are bad. We use them
Who
all
are
the
you
time.
using now?
Neshoba Analytical.
Okay.
But most filter manufacturers, whenever they recommend any filtration, a lot of times you probably see RO systems on there. They always, pretty much any filter manufacturer recommends an RO filter for no matter what you have for water. It seems like, that's just under a kitchen sink with a little tap for drinking water. So were there other things on there for recommendations that you noted, or?
Yeah, what I was gonna ask is, some of them indicate that they're recommending UV treatment after the secondary treatment. And when I say secondary treatment, I'm considering the poets as primary treatment, and then, the filters after the poets are secondary treatment. And it appears that some of them are recommended that there be a UV treatment after it comes out of the secondary treatment. Is that installed in any of the filter arrangements?
I'd have to see which one you're talking about.
Yeah, for 100% sure it's installed after our system.
Okay. You indicated you actually have records on what is in each home?
Most of them, we actually have pictures of in our files.
Is that something you can share with us?
Oh, sure, absolutely. The question becomes is this to supply for information, or is this a permitting requirement? I don't think this is.
It's not a permitting requirement.
So, yeah, absolutely.
This is a result of the fact that, when we get complaints, we're required to follow up on each one of those complaints.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. My biggest concern here is this is pictures of people's homes, so ultimately, the permission has to be from the homeowner.
To take a picture of the filters that you own?
No, again, it's something to talk about, to see if there's, if people want those photos, who knows what's in the background, or whatever, I don't know. So, be something to look at before I do that, but we have no problems giving you the photos. It's as long as those residents that have these, and I think they're treatment systems, but they're really just filter systems. So we'll get you those filter systems, and they're all pretty well the same, with some minor added. But we have no problems giving you those photos as long as it's okay with the residents.
So a photo most of the time won't tell you, for instance, you can't look at a photo and, generally the barrels are the same, the control tops are the same, what's in them differs.
Well, not in this particular case, these are bullet systems, as Nate mentioned to you, they're all the same, just some minor alterations depending on the residents. We'll get you those photos again, once I get the okay, that would be no problem.
Can we have a completion date on that, George?
What's that, I don't know, again, we can get something out, again, we'll try and get you the tapes, but this is a request that I have no problem getting you that request as soon as possible.
So, can we put some sort of a requirement on it?
Sure, again, it's just a question of making sure that there's no problems with getting those photographs over to you pursuant to our access agreements, and then getting it over to you. It shouldn't be that difficult. What would you like?
What's that?
What's a good time that you would think would be appropriate?
Well, I don't want to set a timeline that's too tight, okay? What I'd like to have is a date that, we can, get the information.
Yeah, I can give you an
60
update in the
days.
next meeting, or give Abby an email once we
Okay.
clear it, and I just have to
Okay,
be,
now, you said the next meeting, how about,
yeah,
which will be in 16 days?
yeah, I need an update, yeah.
Why don't we make it 30 days?
For an update, okay, I can give you an update.
No, I'm-
First meeting in March.
Right. No, what I'm looking for is the actual information, not
Right.
an update.
But I have to make, again, I'm just making sure that this is confidential and it complies with the access agreement terms, and I can go back, it shouldn't take long. And then we can, where residents that you want to see that have modifications, we'll be glad to give those to you, and we'll reach out to the homeowners if we have. But again, this is for informational purposes, not, I mean, the Board of Health doesn't regulate, permit these things, do they?
It has nothing to do with permanence.
Okay.
What the Board of Health is required to do is investigate
Right,
complaints,
right.
okay? And in order to investigate the water quality complaints that we're hearing, which we need to do, that's our charter. We need to know what the configurations are in the filters for their homes. I think, we can all feel relatively assured, I believe, that poets are virtually the same in each, and that we're talking about 2 or 3 filters, which is what mostly changes, if anything changes. It's the post-treatment, it's the treatment that you guys probably weren't required to do, but out of you decided to do it, and that was take care of changes that are happening to the water by the poet systems.
Yeah, absolutely, and again,
Okay.
yeah, so I think again, I'm not, when you rare situation, I might be able to do it earlier versus later, but we'll do March first.
We won't complain if you do it early.
Exactly, thank you. I think I can do it.
It's just more of a disappointment if it,
We got it.
you know. Nate, your group, do you do the testing that we saw in the test from the Walter Morris? Did you draw those samples?
Walter Morris, yeah, now we use Toshiba, because
Yeah.
they're a certified lab with Walter Morris's filtration company.
So you draw those samples?
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me what points in the system they're drawn from?
Typically, we draw it from right at the well tank
Okay,
to know what we're dealing with for water.
prior to any treatment?
Right.
Okay.
The only time we would take it post-treatment, which we usually try and take it as close as you can to the backside of the treatment. Sometimes that's a draw off, sometimes it's a kitchen sink or something. We're only taking those tests when we are trying to confirm if the filters are doing their job or not.
Now, if they could come up for a second. This happens to be one residence, I just wanna clarify where they were taken. This one says post 2 of 2. And this one says pre-filter, 1 of 2. So I'm just curious on what spots those would have been taken.
What's the address of that at?
137.
Okay, oh, all right, I have copies of it here, too.
This was just the one I've looked at the most.
There's not, again, it's.
Can you move my stuff, honey?
I have all the,
Can you move my
copies
stuff?
here. So 137.
Can you move my stuff? I'm listening.
Cool. After which filtration, the poet or the?
Don't put my jacket on the floor.
Yeah, because whenever we're checking, we're not checking the culvert, that's not necessary.
So this is after it's gone through all filtration?
Yeah.
raw water coming in?
Right.
Okay.
Out of the whole thing.
That's what I thought. But for the most part, you're taking the samples before it hits any filtration.
Yeah, to see what we're dealing with for when we put in the filters, so we can try and set the heads properly.
So if we don't see two tests like this that says pre and post, then what you're dealing with is
Yeah, if it doesn't
just
say-
the raw water as it comes in.
Right, realistically, if it doesn't say post,
Yeah.
then it's raw water.
Okay. How often are you pulling the post measurement to see if the filters are doing what you expect them to do?
It's not really any sort of calendar timing, it's more of just if we see, you know, a sign of something not working properly.
But have they been done at most most residences or just a few? Or just a few? And how do you make the decision on whether or not you do that?
It's pretty much just if they put in a complaint that, there's signs of staining or hard water that lines up with the potential of the iron filter or the softener not working properly.
So can I ask a question? So,
No, I'm sorry, we're here to talk with these people here. We'll see if we've got time later to recognize people in the audience. Okay?
So then at what point can residents ask
Right,
questions?
yeah.
At what point? Because we email and you guys don't answer, no one answers. So I'd like to ask when.
When?
When can residents ask questions?
We can,
If not today?
Yeah, so for example, he just said they only test whenever. Someone comes over our house every 2 months.
I
And I
understand.
don't agree with this configuration. of the
Again,
system,
there is,
but-
understand something here. I think everybody needs to understand. The Board of Health is trying very hard to satisfy everybody's needs. In this particular situation, the state, Mass DEP, is responsible for anything that preempts the Board of Health when it comes to the Massachusetts Contingency Plan and the PFAS related issues. Beyond that, private wells are the responsibility of their owners. Any drinking water issues that you have are your responsibility. With the exception right now of the PFAS contamination that's been identified in the area. So we're trying as hard as you are to understand what's going on and trying to see how we can assist.
It's been 3
all of
years.
us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it sounds,
four.
it's been 3 years,
Almost 4.
and like, it just sounds like right now, you're just kind of getting up on speed of like what's going on in our lives. It's been 3+ years, and now the Board of Health is stepping in, that's what I don't understand.
The Board of Health is not stepping in at this point.
Then what is this all about? Are you gonna help us, or are you gonna like, just
This Board of
get
Health
up to speed
meeting,
now?
the Board of Health has been attending Mass DEP meetings and been kept informed by Mass DEP on what's going on. Okay? We bring your concerns as we know them when we have the opportunity to do that. This meeting here was planned just for us to work with those people, with Mass Natural's attorneys and counsel, to try to get some answers to questions that we've been asking for some time.
Every
This
question
is-
that I've heard so far, anybody in this room can answer.
Yeah.
right? We know all about it, we are more or less experts.
Listen,
Okay, so you bring in the installer to like fill you in on what's going on, that's been going on in our lives for years. We need help, we need town water,
Yeah. But
okay?
it says here, the site agreement that we all signed, right here is, section 12 under confidentiality. It does say that it will have to be amended, but you're going at it backwards. Instead of saying, we receive complaints, everybody in this room can send you a picture with their complaints easily, therefore nullifying this confidentiality clause.
Yep.
So we don't have to wait 60 days. It's a simple process. It's not meant to be complicated. And then when I'm raising my hand going, point of clarification, you have a two-way street. You're not just responsible to replying to the Mass Natural today. You have all these people here present, and we all complained. So we want the system to work with us. So right now saying 60 days for amendment for a site agreement that we signed 3 years ago, when if we want to send in a complaint, we can just send in a picture if you want to see it. Just say, hi, I didn't get your picture. You don't have to sit there and say, we'll wait 60 days.
Amen.
Simplify the process.
Yep. I think saying that the wells are our
I'm saying,
responsibility.
first of all, you need to understand.
Oh, look, a man interrupting a
This is a
woman.
public meeting.
Groundbreaking.
You're observers.
No.
In order to speak in a public meeting, you need to be recognized by the chairman.
Well, recognize,
We're
Chairman, you need to
participants in a
simplify
public
your
meeting, just so
process.
we're clear on that. We're participants in a public meeting.
Yes.
Right.
That is, okay, you're participants, but your right to speak is dependent upon being recognized by the chairman.
So can you recognize me, please?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay.
Until we finish the official business.
Okay, so let's get to.
Well, I hope you understand, Chairman, the point that I was trying to put across. It's a two-way street on communication. If you're receiving complaints without a photo, just ask for a photo. You don't have to wait 60 days to have it approved by an attorney, who would then say, oh, I need another year to get signatures from everybody to do
Yeah.
this.
Sir, is it possible to set up a meeting for questions if this is not the forum?
Yes,
We would love to do it.
yes, we very much like to do that.
I mean, I don't wanna see a bunch of people, and if you don't have I understand the procedures, but if this is not the forum for us to get the answers, I just liking it.
No, we are more than happy to set up a meeting to discuss with residents. We're working with the PIP group right now to try and do that, and we would be more than happy to set up a meeting. At this point, Mr. Simoncini is correct, you do have to be recognized by the chair, and we will not really be able to continue if we keep having interruptions. So if he can get through some of the items, and then potentially if we have time, he might be willing to open the floor up to comment. And then in the meantime, like I said, we are more than happy to set up a meeting to have comments, concerns addressed. We do get complaints in from residents. I don't know if all of you have complained, I haven't looked at the list, but please continue to do so so that we can keep track of that. And for now, we can just get through some of the items. Potentially he'll open up the floor to allow comment if that's what time allows.
I personally have attended 99% of the meetings. I remember not too long ago being at Oakmont, at the last meeting that was at Oakmont, held by Mass DEP, and there were about 6 people there. And that was an advertised meeting, the notice went out and everybody was there. I'm very empathetic to all you. Thank God I don't have PFAS in my own home. Okay, I understand. Okay? The Board of Health, as far as the PFAS goes, has very limited influence. But I can tell you that I've spent literally hundreds of hours personally being able to understand or trying to understand what's going on. And I'm sorry. I would have loved to have seen all of you
We were
at
all
that
on
meeting in
Zoom.
Oakmont.
There was hundreds online
Yeah,
too, so I mean, that.
realize that.
Yeah.
Well,
probably a
over
hospital.
25, 30
So-
select everybody else.
Yeah, but
Maybe
our
more
lack of
flexible.
participation, it's our fault, including as well.
So if we can continue here, hopefully we'll all learn something. And I understand your point where you're saying they don't need 60 days.
You don't need any.
The
you just need
information's
to
already
start.
there. Unfortunately, it's been longer than 60 days that the boards have been trying to get the information. And finally, we asked for them to come to the meeting so that we could try to get the information this way.
You can get the information from the owner. Just say, can I have a picture?
Okay.
You need to communicate with
At
the
this point, I
planning.
think we should move forward with continuing our items, and then, as I said, we can open up the floor after if there's time.
George, this is probably an answer for you. Is there a water filtration expert that you guys have consulted with on, because in each situation, you probably have found that the water coming from two wells 50 feet apart can be different. And sometimes needs to be treated differently. Is there a water filtration expert that you guys have consulted with that says, okay, for this problem with water, you do this treatment, and has tests been done after these filters have been installed to see if they're actually doing or fixing the issue?
Well, I wouldn't call it a water filtration expert, but the manufacturers, this is a proven technology that has been in place not just in this location, but all over the country in Massachusetts. And again, the point of entry system, which is a carbon filter, these have two chambers. These are both influent, midpoint, effluent are tested on a periodic basis, and that's done by Lassard Environmental, who's the LSP on record. And we address the actual design, the approval with the Department of Environmental Protection many years ago. I believe there's 180 POET systems installed. So what we're talking about today, my belief is, some of those unique situations where there's additional issues outside the PFAS that impact. And if it's a direct impact of PFAS, then our Lassard, as well as the manufacturer, Morse, will address those and come out, inspect, and make the appropriate changes.
Yeah, I guess I'm referring, what I'm trying to understand better is the post-POET filtrations. I understand that most of the POETs are the same, and your test results show that the PFAS is being filtered. I guess my question is more post-POETs, the stuff that I guess Nate's been testing for and installing filters. And
It's on the direction of the LSP of record, Larry Lassard, who's been a licensed site professional and has actually patents in remediation technology on it just by himself. He makes those decisions based on the laboratory data, Nate's input, as well as the residents' input and the information supplied. But again, those are those unique situations beyond those POET systems that have been running. At the end of it, that effluent is non-detected. Hence the discontinuance of the water deliveries, which I think it was ordered and the department approved because they're working so well.
so is there, I think Nate spoke to the fact that when they're, I think what Nate said, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong. What Nate said was that they don't pull samples to test the water to see if the secondary filters are working unless there's an issue.
No, that's not accurate. What Lassard through, New England, it's NEC, New England, I forget the abbreviation, let's say, state certified lab, those tests, both influent, midpoint, and effluent go to that lab, state certified, and that's been going on since the beginning, since the installation. And those are continuing, that was what was referenced earlier tonight, was this periodic sampling. And the discontinuance of the water was 3 consecutive months.
I think we got a bit of confusion going on here.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is we've got 2 sets of filters.
Right.
We've got the POET system, okay, which is your, and then you have a set of filters to address other water quality filters. I call those post-POET.
Yeah, the UVs, are you talking about the
No,
UV filters?
I'm talking about the softeners, the iron filters.
Those are, I can't speak for Lassard Environmental, but I believe that those are sampled also, and those samples are sent. Again, with consultation with the former and how best to, with the data that they have, and trying to figure it out. There's a couple of these. 136 was one of them, the one you cited today.
137?
137, sorry. Okay, so that's what we're working through that process to find out why out of 180 there's something that's unique like this. And I defer to the LSP on that.
Okay. We did ask Larry to be here.
He just finished up, and I urge the residents that are in attendance tonight to the quarterly, the IRA status report that was submitted. The upgrade, and I appreciate the PIP group for the upgrades in the website, because this is an ever-changing process. And there's also a lot of these questions, DEP is involved with the PIP meetings as well as the public hearings, that these questions can also be addressed that's outside the jurisdiction of the Board of Health.
What's outside the jurisdiction of the Board of Health?
Basically the MCP criteria and
That
sampling,
is correct.
and some of the experts that the DEP has on this that we talk to on a daily basis. This is a direct oversight of the DEP. It's a Tier 1A site, which means that the DEP is on a daily basis involved with this site and overseeing the LSP on that.
I'm trying very hard here to separate MCP from.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
fine line, I agree.
And so I'm not really trying to focus on the poets. And the reason why we asked to talk with me was because, it's post-poets that we're really interested in. And knowing what the configurations are, it makes total sense. What they're saying is you take the raw water sample to decide what you need for that post-poet filtration or after poet filtration. My question is there are there normally tests that have been done that says, okay, I've installed what I think needs to be there to confirm that the water's been corrected the way you expected it to be?
Yeah, and again, we'll go outside the parameters of those 3 tests of the POET system pursuant to the MCP to do additional tests like nitrates and those other issues that we'll talk about later on. But yeah, Lassard Environmental will take a look at those issues and deal with laboratory analysis. And we will respond to each resident. We have tried to do that. And again, we can't do it overnight, but once we get the lab results, we do an analysis. But again, there's not as, of the 180, I don't have an exact number, but we're trying to respond to those individually through Lassard, the LSP on record.
Now, I think, Nate, I thought what you said was that you only do the post filtration when there's an issue after the filters have been installed. Did I not hear that correctly?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, we only, you asked them if we put the filters in or if we test for, we only test for iron and hardness when we see signs.
for what, iron and what else?
Hardness.
Only if
The
there
iron-
appears to be something wrong after, or you do a confirmatory test.
Yeah, I mean, we don't test every single house.
So when you install the secondary, you're always doing a confirmatory test to make sure it's working, or you only do it if the resident still has problems?
Yeah, we only do it if the,
That confirmatory
symptoms don't go away.
Yeah, again, a lot of the, what we're talking about tonight is, we've had this discussions right at the beginning, was the installation of some of the drinking water wells, the makeup of the water in Westminster. And these are issues like, for example, some of the filter systems, pre-filter, have worked and basically reduces a lot of the particulate matter that would be going into some of the residents' water quality. That was a benefit of these BOH systems. But again, we're trying to make it all work, and as each individual, if there's a complaint regarding the hardness or iron or even manganese, we'll start personally. The Start Environmental looks at that. We do the testing and we try and figure out whether it's a responsibility of us. You're absolutely right. We've gone above in some situations beyond what we're required to do, but again, that's something that we're going to continue to do.
So right now, when a resident has an issue with their water, what's the process that they do?
Well, it's usually, again, the process is usually we get some kind of email or a phone call, and I've actually returned phone calls to some of the residents. DEP gets involved, DEP is aware. We talk to DEP if necessary. We talk to Lassard. Again, when I say Lassard's coordinating all this, and we attempt to find out what the problem is, outside the PFAS issue, or and address that issue and respond back either through email or letter or phone call to the resident. Some are easier than others. But again, it hasn't been, over the first few years were very sparse planes. Mainly it was access and all those other issues, but over the last 60 days, some of these issues have been brought to our attention, and we're trying to address those.
I've never gotten a response from anybody, by the way. So
What address?
me, 29 White Pine.
29 White Pond?
Yep.
I can.
So I don't know if residents here have.
Yeah, and why am I continuing to have, why am I continuing to have testing?
Never.
Why am I continuing to have testing?
Well, can you?
If the report says zero.
This is something that again, I'm here to basically with the assumption that these were responded to, and 29 White Pine is not, did you send an email or?
I've sent many
You
emails.
haven't heard anything from the
No,
department?
besides Christina
The
telling me that.
department's involved, too.
Yeah, right, except when am I gonna come over and sample your water?
Or when we're gonna discontinue your water. They were
Yeah.
quick to tell me that. That one you responded really
You know what
fast.
would be productive, and again, to help you, is those who are here just at the end of the night, give me a list of those who because I have a stack of complaints that we've responded to, and over the last 60 days, so you've been complaining for how long?
For a month at least.
Oh, all right,
I've complained about discoloration, sulfur
Let
odor.
me address the,
Is there
yeah, this is
a
the one.
fixed process that a number they call?
Yes.
Or an email they call, send to, and that contact works the issue?
Yes, it goes,
Can you go over that in detail for us?
if somebody has issues, they will first talk to, usually it's one of Nate's people on the site that's either doing sampling or maintenance. That individual contacts Lassard, and Lassard has somebody there to address these. We have those noted. We have a process with the department, because a lot of these people, this has only been 30 days, so I can understand maybe that's in the process, but
Only. Okay.
But we have that, and Larry Lassard, again, a geologist at LSB, he works on those solutions, and either he gets back to them directly or we do, based on his information. And we contact DEP on this.
Mhm.
So everybody's in the loop communication-wise, that's why I'm surprised that it's been 30 days.
I'm surprised
Is there a
too.
written process?
Well, but it's, again, all of this has been 3 years, so if there's been a complaint, who was it sent to? Was it sent to Lassard?
Lassard and Christina, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's, okay. And I'll check on it. I mean, that's all we can do.
Well, that's one point, but we've got,
Yeah, but I just told you what we do.
we got 200 people that, or 200 residences that we'd like to have in their hands a process that says, step one, you call or email this person.
Yeah,
And
again.
this is what's gonna happen over what period of time.
Okay, and again, we can do that. I kind of summarized it, but I can get some internal commitment from Lassard and to see that. But again, a lot of these complaints over the last 60 days, most of those complaints before that we addressed, memorialized, and did the appropriate testing and confirmatory testing.
It's actually been 4 years, by the way, not 3.
No, but your complaint's been a month, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
I think I read something on a court order that actually set up a process.
well, again, there's a process to discontinue water deliveries, not, okay.
I think there was one part that dealt with secondary issues.
Yeah, and they're still getting their water deliveries.
And it only had to do with water, not resolving the secondary issues, is that the idea?
Well, but that's to give us time to address those. That's why it's important to get this information and work with it that way.
Okay, so we have your commitment to give us a little blurb on who to contact, when, and
Yeah, again, it's Lassard, but I think if there's a phone number that's usually on the website, it's also in the IRA reports and all this other information. But we'll follow up with that, and maybe
but
separately.
Lassard works for you, right?
No, he doesn't. He's the LSP on record, but he doesn't.
Well, I understand. You're trying to.
He works for your client.
It was,
Yes, he does.
okay, so
Well, yeah.
you two both report to the same person?
Yes, exactly.
And who is that person?
That's the pages in those PRP group that is handling oversight.
And is your person at the top of the PRP group?
Yeah, they're
Mass Natural, yep.
Who's the person at the top of the PRP group?
It doesn't work, it's called a group, there's nobody really in charge of the PRP group. It's the group that's contributing, financing, and complying with the Massachusetts contingency plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you, during the Mass DEP meeting, you started the meeting by reviewing who you were and
Yeah, it's a complicated site.
who Mr. Lassard was. And so have those roles changed at all? or-
No, that was actually just clarification, it hasn't changed, it's just that, something, because I have a scientific background and I worked in regulatory before I at the law school, I sometimes get confused as being a scientist versus a lawyer. You can ask me which one I take credit for more than I do in the future, in the past, but Lassard, we will get you a phone number, we will get you the process and how to handle it. And we'll keep DEP in the loop because they've been pretty, how we've been responding to those individuals. But we'll take care of it, we'll find out what's going on.
Thank you.
So when someone calls in
So
and
Lassard,
says, I've got my water looks yucky, okay? How long does that usually take to get resolved? Do you know?
usually within a day or two, as far as talking, going, okay, what's the issue? How do we set up sampling? How do we get Morris Brothers out there to do some confirmatories, inspection, see what's going on there, whether it be sediment, whether it be iron, magnesium. But a lot of these issues are the installation of those original wells. And again, we've been doing this, these Board of Health meetings where I've been giving updates. These were discussions at the beginning on the water quality before the PFAS. So that's what we're dealing with now. And we have to be careful because we're here for PFAS, although it does benefit some of the residents that had bad wells. There's shallow wells, there's a rather large abutter that draws water in the summertime. And these affect water quality as well as volume and the quality of those drinking water wells. But those board systems are working very well. We're just trying to fine tune the ones that I'm hearing about and that's actually been done over the last, I'd say 60 days. It's accelerated.
May I just please ask something? Just really quick, please.
Quickly?
So there's a court order that says that if residents are experiencing sulfur smell, egg smell, or discoloration, we're not supposed to have our bottled water discontinued. Why are you discontinuing water when residents are complaining about those issues?
I don't believe the court order says that. I believe the
It literally says that. I read it.
No.
Okay, that's beyond the
Yeah,
scope of the board.
We're just trying to, any type of issues where it doesn't, there's 3 PFAS, and there's no problems, we discontinue. If there's problems, we continue the water deliveries.
Because my water was discontinued and my white curtains are orange. So this goes to the bottled water delivery question on your agenda.
And this is an important, and I didn't know we were gonna get into this. We're in the process of switching the water delivery company. We've had great difficulties. This Primo is this conglomerate that literally controls like 80% of the water deliveries in this country. And you can't even talk to people. We've had discontinuances. We brought this up to the attention. So we're in the process of, if some of you residents will see a different truck out there with a different cooler, it would be Bayberry Estates. And if anybody's had those, then we're starting to transfer over to those because this has been very difficult. It's a rather daunting task even to get, even when threatening letters from a law office, ask for responses. So yes, if there's a delivery issue that shouldn't be, what I just told you shouldn't be happening, this Primo brand, we've had great difficulty with the last, since they were acquired, they've been acquired 3 times since the beginning of this project. So it's been very, very difficult getting quality control with them. And we've since moved on and we're in the process of transitioning out of that company.
All right,
Thank you.
That's a lot of runaround though to just tell me that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Let me see what I can do on that.
If there's a problem in a home and there needs to be configuration change with a post-poet filtration, the filtration after the elements, how big of a project is that?
Again, it's up to the site to figure it out, but you're only in there if you're doing, adding on any type of equipment or doing any work, you're only there for a couple hours, correct? You can get that.
He's got to throw the filters and stuff.
Yeah, we'll take it, you can't solve it in a couple of hours.
For the record,
We take a test, and if it shows iron.
we bought a year supply of filters in advance, just for that delivery issue to accelerate.
The post-poet filters?
Yeah, we
The
got.
softeners and the ion filters and stuff?
Well, I know the carbon filters, we year ahead. So we don't.
Nate, if you need an iron filter or another softener, how long does it take you to get it?
Well, first we'll go test and see if that's what is going on.
Right.
Some houses have other issues that have nothing to do with anything. If somebody's got bad pH or there's a million things you could have in water. But the iron primarily has been what we've been approved to deal with because it's known that that's amplified by the carbon filters.
Mm-hmm.
Not the iron, like I said, but the visibility of it. It's all
Yeah.
been there. So So once we confirm that looks to be what the issue is, then, we order the filters, and it has to fit into the schedule, obviously, we don't have, it's not like I have guys sitting around tomorrow.
Sure.
Everybody's scheduled up.
Yeah.
So, as soon as we can fit it into the schedule, which is usually within a 2-week period,
2 weeks, did you say?
yeah, 2 to 3 weeks, I mean, depends on
Okay.
how work is going. And when we can get the filters from the supplier, so it varies, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as figuring out if that's the route we're gonna take, is if the homeowner is available for us to come in and test for it, we can figure that out within a day or two usually. Sure. It'll take long to take the test. Install that has to be scheduled in, figured out.
Now, I understand that in order to backwash the pellet systems, there is a trailer that you guys have built or somebody has built.
It's not so much a trailer, it's a system that we can put in the back of any of the trucks.
Okay. And how often are you backwashing pellets with that system?
It's kind of the same thing, it's on when it needs it. Everybody's different, so it's kind of just if we notice a significant drop in pressure and flow post-filter, and it's not, it doesn't look like it's attributed to the sediment filters clogging up, then there's no way to actually see inside of the carbon filters, so we make the assumption that maybe that's been clogged up, because it can either clog up or the carbon can compact, because they're not a backwashing filter, because then you'd be backwashing PFAS outside.
Right.
We can't do that. So we came up with a system to backwash the pellets individually into tanks on site, and then filter through our own very heavy sediment filters, the water pack, through the pellets on site, so that we filter out any PFAS, and then that water is disposed of on site once it's free of PFAS, because it went through the pellet system. And then we use a tank of actually town water to flush all of our equipment and filters back through the pellet system as well on site, so nothing that leaves the site has any PFAS in it. And that backwashes the two pellets, takes anything off the tops of them that's like a sediment that shouldn't be there, and it fluffs up the carbon essentially.
So who designed the makeup of that portable system that you use?
I actually designed it and then I sent it into, Sarah and the DEP for approval.
What I was trying to get at is not how often you backwash it, but how often are you out backwashing some pellet system?
I'd say off the top of my head, maybe we do 2, maybe 3 a month.
Okay.
It varies though.
Is that something that the Board of Health can observe when you do the next one? Just to watch the process?
No, absolutely. We'll pick a time when the situation arises, and we'll let Abby know.
Yeah, if you let Abby know when you're gonna do it the next time, with a,
Yeah, I can see if we have any on the schedule.
yeah, that'd be great, that'd be wonderful. The sediment filters on the pellet systems, is it your group that empties those out? What do you do with the contents of those sediment filters?
Well, we drain all the water out of the site, but then they're disposed of.
What's that?
Then they're disposed of through our disposal services.
I'm sorry.
Through their disposal service, they dewater, they take the sediment,
Yeah,
and then it's disposed of through their disposal service.
okay. Is there ever been a measurement on the PFAS PFAS in those sediment filters at all?
Well, it's influent, so you'll get that number by just doing the water influent. There's a different, this is an interesting question from an analytical point of view, but you have soil and groundwater different standards.
Right.
Technically, there's soil standards for this that are higher than the ground, different units, but when you're looking at them, they look the same, but one's in volume and one's in weight. But what comes into play on some of these is you really don't have standards. For example, the composting facility is composting PFAS. That's really not soil, it's not groundwater. So DEP is working on standards and other, again, these are recent regulations, 2020. And these regulations were just enacted and promulgated and enacted. So there's a lot of cutting edge work going on, and with LaSarge as well as the department, and the Board of Health, who's been involved with at these meetings. I do think it's a productive collaboration.
But has it ever been, has anybody taken?
I don't think so. I don't think, it's just a question of what methodology you would use. And I would probably ask the LSP, Larry LaSarge, how best to do that. And if the department really wants that, if you have the influence on the end, it might be redundant. That's my point.
I'm not telling you to do it, I'm
Oh,
just
yeah, no.
asking if it's.
I don't believe so, in that context.
Now, going through the literature here, it's all promulgated by 137 here. It appears that some of the tests have tested for nitrates, as an example. And some homes haven't been tested for nitrates. So the real question becomes, who makes that decision, what it's tested for?
Well, Abby, you got the letter we wrote on the nitrate issue, and I believe that was the 137 we just did.
Yes.
Yes,
I read that one.
right, okay, and we talked about nitrates, which in my old days I worked with phosphorus and nitrogen studies and the Housatonic and what the origin of this type of pollutant, which is everywhere, because it's mainly, again, origins can be agriculture, farming. So the answer is no, because nitrates is not.
No one.
No, we don't test it on a regular basis because we're PFAS.
My question is, why is it tested on some homes and not others?
Well, that's because we have a complaint. I think we only have this happen a couple of times where there was a complaint to say that we were high in nitrates. And we said, okay, I don't know if that relates. Worked with Abby, I've worked with the department on this. We've worked with Nate on this to figure out those unique situations out of 180 where this could be, what could be the cause of this nitrate, because a lot of these samples, and I wrote a letter to the Board of Health on that.
Right, but you can't see nitrates, George.
Right.
What makes the decision to test?
As I said to you, it's the complaint by a resident who did the sample.
But how are they going to know unless it's tested?
Exactly.
Well, when he does his, Nate, do you want to answer that? When you do your testing?
Well, you're talking about on the Walter Morris one.
Yeah.
You're talking about on the Walter Morris tests?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Honestly, I think they just started, they test some of the stuff randomly, I think. Because we only asked them for iron hardness.
Okay.
And pH.
So it's basically the filter company who's doing the testing for you. who
Yeah, they just kind of had it
is
show up.
determined to throw nitrate into the mixture or not.
Yeah, again, we don't think it's.
I can understand that answer.
How about, again, we just don't, again, we don't believe it's in our kind of category, but we do want to confirm through this uncertified laboratory who,
We'll go into that in a different.
Okay,
subject.
all right.
Nate doesn't have to.
All right, he doesn't have to listen. Okay.
Yeah, a question about, I read somewhere that sometimes the systems, the filtration systems are actually responsible for putting some of the nitrate into the water. Is that correct, or is it not correct?
Again, I don't believe that's correct. Because nitrates have to come in from somewhere, not
Yeah,
systems,
but-
departments, right?
Yeah, but
So it's the raw, if there's a break, we would figure that out. See,
I guess I'd like to see, this is a concern, particularly to an individual as a compromised erythropoietic system. And that if indeed there is some issue with nitrate, and even if the concentration is changing, to say, well, when the resident complains, well, you're not testing for it, so we don't know. We have seen, at least in one or two instances here, where nitrates have been found and they were higher, looked like after the POET system. It looked like even the nitrate was higher. And I'm just saying, maybe we need to at least look at that.
Well,
And then the only way you're gonna test that is to test raw water versus post-filter.
well, again, this is raw, the sampling on,
Yeah, but there's a post,
On 37.
but we saw something in there that said post on that same house.
no, but this was raw. This is so.
Right, but then in the next something, there's something that said post. And we were told earlier that post
But
meant
again,
exactly.
even if the nitrate, again, we're here on a PFAS issue.
I understand.
And I think there's something that the Board of Health, if there's concerns with the nitrate levels across from these homes that have drinking water wells in agricultural areas, that should be looked at. But again, I think we're kind of getting out of our lane. but we're-
Except, the only question again is whether or not it is the system that's putting it in. That's a question that has come up.
I don't see how that can happen.
Well,
But again, we can look into it. How's that? I'll talk to Larry.
We'll be discussing that.
Yeah.
Is there a way, who looks at these test results? Who's the first to see these test results when they come out?
Lazard, environmental, Larry Lazard.
We need to make sure that the Board of Health is being worded whenever there's a water test, good, bad, or indifferent, certified or not certified, that shows it's over the MCL.
We've had this discussion about a year and a half ago on the analysis and doing Q&A and what goes on with laboratories and LSPs. And once that can be analyzed, because data in its raw form can be very difficult to interpret if it's not verified and looked at by someone, an LSP with a master's in geology.
George, you have a report that comes from the lab.
Yeah.
And if the MCL is 10 and the result is 15, something has to happen quickly. There's no interpretation needed.
Yeah, I disagree.
But you can
Why do you disagree?
whatever you
Because
want.
it has to be analyzed and looked at in the context of how we sample. For example, that 137 is a perfect example, where the data came back, but it was mislabeled. It was.
So do you tell the person who's drinking that water, hold off until we do this analysis you're talking about, or do you just let them drink it?
Well, again, this is something that we have to make sure that it's our responsibility. Now, the Board of Health can do what they want. If there's something there and water deliveries or whatever you want to do, but from our point of view, in that particular situation, 137, we've looked at this and we're going to continually with additional data, but the nitrate issue it defies scientific.
It doesn't matter to me if it's nitrates or arsenic or whatever it is. If it's above the MCL, you need to immediately notify the Board of Health, and the Board of Health will notify the resident. start drawing in life.
Again, I will defer, we can have a discussion with the LSP and those who gets this data. So again, we have to make sure that the data is valid.
Okay.
We've got some mistakes.
I think I've run through my questions for Nate. You guys,
Anything, I mean, I was concerned about the nitrate.
good on it.
Yeah, I think, again, I think the Board of Health has to look at that on an individual basis when this comes back, and we'll be glad to notify the Board of Health of any testing, all right?
That's all we're
But
asking.
again, I think because, but is Mass Natural Fertilizer people that are here just for PFAS?
Yeah.
Because we gotta.
Except if you own a filtration system and there is not a contaminant going in, but there's a contaminant coming out.
Yeah, I don't, again, that.
Okay.
137, that was the raw data, that was the influent coming in, not influence, so. That was
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, so I did.
And the other part that we have concern about is if that the water coming in has, or the water coming in at least looks aesthetically pleasing and the result is not aesthetically pleasing, that also comes under our.
Yes, it does.
And so we have to be concerned about, and that's why we're asking all these questions and trying to understand further as to what you are doing in order to try to make sure that the water is potable and aesthetically pleasing to these people. And that they don't have to worry about orange curtains.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Nate, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
If you wanna call it a day, that's fine. George, did you want to field a few questions from the audience here for a few minutes?
Well, I was looking at the agenda, I really wanted to give you an update on a couple of things.
Okay.
I usually do.
Then we can
And
wait
what
until
I'd like to
later,
do is get a
we can
concept
wait till
of-
later in the meeting. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so, yeah, I'm gonna take a break right now, because I'd like to get a glass of water.
I'll
ahead,
take a
my
glass.
card.
George, you want me to get your glass of water?
No, I have a water container. I just forgot. All right. 5 minutes.
Just walk away, George.
George, 5 minutes?
Less than 5 minutes.
All right.
Less than 5 minutes.
You can sign meeting minutes while we wait.
Are you guys leaving? I'm gonna
like to stay, but my son has a heart
Yeah, I'm gonna make them put a meeting on their schedule so we can ask questions.
Yes.
Because they get a platform and we don't.
Yeah.
We should be able to.
Absolutely.
I think we can all send our pictures.
Yes. Yes. You wanted to see the pictures? Here are the pictures. Yeah. Do you guys are on the MNF page that Michelle runs, right? You guys are on that page? Okay. So. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know.
Yeah.
We're gonna do things for us. It's 4 years later.
Yes.
It's just in the week.
Finding out from others, but
3 years, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was just saying, Flint, Michigan, after 10
Going
years,
live. Yeah.
Flint, Michigan, after 10 years, just got the
Oh yeah, the pipes, yeah. So let's just hope that's not our fate.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm Norma. Very nice to meet you.
Shannon.
Norma, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming, Maureen. Thank you. Oh, we're neighbors. Yeah, yeah.
Water Report.
Okay.
So coming up from South that.
Okay. Very nice to meet you. Have a great night. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Not all that stuff is supposed to what they should be.
No.
You know, your boyfriend shrieks in my ear. Will you do that?
Sorry. Did you get a hold of them? If you say that again, I swear to God.
Like, you know, that's. It's the whole point of the filter is taking the steps out and sucking the filter out, and I don't understand how you're not. And if you're not, then what's that one thing else, they're still in there. So I guess there's a, quite a bit of what's new. I know I'm not going to push you back to much, but like, when you watch the, I understand how people tell them, okay, we should have to do.
Could we at some point?
I'll write it down.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're all set.
All right. George, let's discuss decommissioning
Yes,
of wells.
we have the dates, correct? We have, Abby, did you circulate the dates?
I sent over the letter that you sent us.
Thank you, and so do we want to talk about where we are, so to make everyone aware of what we're, the decommissioning of water, drinking water wells on South Ash. It was 15 homes that we hooked up directly to the town water line that runs through South Ash.
Yes.
And what happened is usually, in these situations pursuant to the MCP, once you hook up, you have to, under water supply regulations, you have to close those wells. But in this particular case, it's unique where these wells were decommissioned, technically should have been decommissioned, and Ed's been very, very much a part of this process with the department. And that is of those 15 wells, the department as well as the LSP wants to keep some of those wells open to use them as monitoring wells, to get a better idea, get a better snapshot of the migration of PFAS from that area. So what Ed and I have talked to, again, this is kind of a tip of the spear kind of thing when it comes to dealing with this scenario. Usually you decommission the water lines, you put in the drinking water, another well, monitoring well, goes to it. But in this particular case, kill two birds with one stone. But what it did, it posed the question that we went over on a few meetings is, okay, if you're not gonna decommission and you're gonna reserve those wells for sampling, how do you secure that those wells aren't being used? Because it's PFAS and they're not connected. So what we did was, we worked on a schedule, we worked on labels, we worked on getting a lockbox over the well. And this is what we've been working on to confirm that. Now, this is something that hasn't been done in a lot of places. We even talked about labels. We looked at the tags and we found out that the tags had PFAS in them. So we had to get the actual tags had PFAS in them. So we had to go get some other source to do that. So we've identified what needs to be on the tags, the securing of those wells, the decommissioning, and those are those 15 homes that were connected to town water earlier this year. So that's kind of, is that a good summary?
Yes.
Okay. And the dates, and we'll eventually close those. They'll all be decommissioned, but not until the department and the LSP says we don't need these locations anymore for monitoring.
Okay.
That's the update. We got all the dates and everything.
Okay. Received your letter.
Okay. gotta get the actual dates. All by June.
It's got caveats in it. I'm not excited about caveats. It gives us an excuse not to meet the date.
Yeah, well, most of it, 90% of it, is the phase 5, and when we can actually decommission them is going entirely up to the Department of Environmental Protection. So we can't predict when they'll say we're done with those.
Okay. Under decommissioning the wells at the conclusion of phase 5 of the MCP process, you have in parentheses to be further discussed. What does to be further
Yes,
discussed?
that's what I just mentioned, which is, we can't give you a date until DEP looks at the phase 2, which is the nature and extent delineation of where the PFAS went. This could be a little complicated because there might be other sources in that area, Bragg Hill or Bean Portage. That's why we can't give an exact date. We can do everything else, secure them, but we have to wait for the department to say, okay, you don't need those. So it's definitely up to the department and their technical people, and with agreement, we'll start to do that.
But the end of phase 5 is the end of phase 5. It may be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 50 years from now.
It could be. I hope not.
So we can just use the conclusion of phase 5 as the date.
I agree. Yeah, that would be.
Is that reasonable?
Very reasonable, because again, there's only so many things I have control over.
So with my 2 other board members, if they're in agreement, I'd like to close this out by sending out an order that will detail exactly that, as well as the process for wells going forward, because we're going to be doing a lot of connecting of municipal water to homes going forward. So we'll use that same schedule or that same process, but the dates will be tied to when the actual connection.
Which is unknown.
Which is unknown.
And it's in the feasibility stage. So, in judging from other PRPs, there are other PRPs, which means responsible parties that have received notices from the Department of Environmental Protection. You can read all this on the website, as well as the IRA, but there are not only the clients of Mass Natural Fertilizer, or these are PRPs that are contributing, Siemens Paper, Newark Group. There are others that are not contributing. So the department, so this project, it's an infrastructure project, so we don't know yet what the potential is, because we're going through the design phase right now. And I think a lot of you all here heard somebody yell out, we want a water line. We're not there yet. Just to give you a summary, and this usually happens during these public meetings, but, and I'm addressing this to the board of Health, is that the first step is Grady Associates, who's a professional engineer, does water line. They were the ones that handled the South Ash connections, are working on, we call it the Woodland Loop. It's about 47 houses. And what's required is a geotechnical, which is boring. So borings have to be done. You can't do borings until the spring. So DEP, as well as we've been on the technical meetings, have gone through a schedule to just give us the information whether it's feasible to go there and to be important, to look at the feasibility of all this. At the same time, trying to figure out if we can get assistance from others in the area to help this move forward. I will say this, the town engineer has been, and the town, not just the town engineer, but the town consultant, Beta Group, has been working with Grady. They finished up their drone study. That's when, if anybody was there, I was at the Conservation Commission a few months back to get their permission to locate. And Abby's working on septic system locations. These are just kind of the preliminary, the conceptual work that has to be done just to see if you can do it. And that's the problem, and it just takes time. All this takes time. I think I used this analogy. Many years ago, I was the environmental attorney for the Big Dig. And when they first started the Big Dig, they said, what, $4 billion, takes 7 years, it took 20 billion, like 25 years. My point is you have all these unforeseeable situations, and some of them were just with the septic, and getting information, weather, getting approvals from the town to do sampling in the streets. There's a lot of people don't want wells being installed during the middle of winter or when the weather's bad. So these are all those issues that come into play that the project manager is Grady Engineering, and they're working with the town. Beta Consulting and Josh Hall has been very receptive in all this and going through the process of doing all this and looking at the feasibility, which is in turn part of the obligations in the MCP for us to get a final solution. And that's going to take some time. And I understand, but those POET systems that we talked about at great length, those are working as very well. There's non-detect. The only people that have discontinuance, unless there's an error by the delivery people, is your water's much cleaner than what you're getting in the drinking water from these things. Although Primo owns Poland Springs, I was looking at them, but they own all of them. It's crazy because I'm trying to get somebody in my office to address their lack of service or duplicating. Somebody might have gotten more water than you would. And this is the problem we have when it's something of this magnitude. So we're working on that, we're transferring it. But in the interim, those POET systems are going to be maintained. All your houses are going to be periodically sampled. And if anything deviates, then we'll pick up the water again. But that's the DEP.
But that's another question. What is the contingency plan if these POET systems just stop working tonight? What is the plan for us?
It's water delivery.
So next day, the water will be delivered.
I don't know, next day, and then first, these things haven't failed in 2 or 3 years. These are real, again, we can.
Mine just failed.
Yeah, really did? When you say failed, what
They're coming to replace it.
Okay, so we're only replacing where,
Mine has never, ever worked properly.
what do you, when you say work, you have non-detect, you
I
have,
have staining, I have
Oh,
odors,
okay,
I
okay.
have mold. I let Morse Brothers know every single time. I've let Lesser know every single time. What I'm trying to say is, you've had 4 years, and now you're saying, oh, gee, it takes time to do a feasibility study.
Yeah, it
What
does.
were you doing the last 4 years?
working on the feasibility study.
No, you were working on putting in POET systems and trying to cut off the
No,
water.
we started the
And the
design
other
work.
thing is,
Can I
what
finish?
is-
You're asking me a question.
Okay.
We started the design work 3 months into the discovery of PFAS, to see what's called an alternatives analysis. It's actually in the IRA report, one of the first IRA reports. That if you're getting, you say, and again, I don't know your address, but I will take note of it and
I
try
am
to.
speaking also on behalf of everybody.
What's that?
I'm gonna give you everyone's address.
Okay, the ones that have issues, perfect.
But what my
Okay.
question is also, you guys are only testing at the point where it comes out the well. You're not testing in the kitchen sink. Prefabs have, probably my house is 30 years old, have been running through all my pipes, everything like that. You're not testing at the kitchen sink where people get their water. You don't care.
Yeah, but no, we do.
You're just testing at the point of the well because
No,
they
no,
say.
All right, I need to jump in here.
Yeah, this is not right.
I believe that's been addressed in the comments, that I have read anyways, on the quarterly IRA reports. And I believe that the state agrees with the LSP that, and I'm not saying they're right, but I'm saying they're in agreement that the pipes do not have a memory effect for PFAS, and they agree that the proper way to measure for the PFAS is monitor what's coming into the filters and what's coming out after the last filter, and you really have, there'd really be something wrong if there's PFAS coming out. And that's solely what those filters are supposed to do, is get rid of the PFAS. And my understanding, the way they work is there are either 2 or 3 vessels, and when they come in and measure, they measure before and after each filter. And when the first filter is no longer sufficiently filtering for PFAS, it is removed, the other filters are moved over in order, and a brand new clean one put on the end. So, and it's my understanding that in the few homes, you need to correct me if I'm wrong here, because it's only my understanding.
Right, and
Okay,
not
that a few homes, there's roughly 200 homes, 170 homes with POET filters in them, that,
It's 184.
what?
184, I believe.
184, that there are maybe a handful that have had that first filter change.
I've had my 2 different systems put in. What I'm trying to say is, before they put in the POET system, I had no problems with my water. I didn't have staining, I didn't have odor, I didn't have mold in my toilets, I didn't have any of this. Now, I'm not whole, because 2 different POET systems have been put in, and I still have continual problems. Do you think I trust that water?
I
It's not
understand.
trustable. We're not being made whole. I'm also expected to lug 40 bottles of water. They dump it at the bottom of my driveway when both my son and I are recuperating after heart surgeries. It's ridiculous. We cannot continue this way. 4 years of bottled water. And then I hear, oh, well, it takes time to do the feasibility study. Expedite it. Put some extra money in it. Do whatever you have to do. Don't sit there and say, that's the way the world works. That's how we're doing it. We're not prioritizing the people in this room. We're not prioritizing the people who are paying taxes. We're not prioritizing the victims. We're letting the legal system, oh, it's going to be years. I'm going to get paid 20, 40 years maybe before this gets done. Why? Why aren't we being prioritized?
DEP has a deadline on the water for the Woodland Loop of December 26th. Can the attorney comment on that?
I can tell you what I know. It's probably a good segment here. I've taken the MCP timelines and marked them up to the best of my knowledge at this point, what the current situation is. It all began in March of 2022. The Woodland Group, there was an order, an interim deadline set for the Woodland Group to get water to their homes of December 2025. That is gone by. The PRPs have requested a 1-year extension to December of 2026. I don't know what the status of that extension is. I just read, and Georgia can maybe comment on this, it was on the DEP website on Friday, that phase 2 was scheduled to be completed in March of 2026. And there's been a notice filed that there's going to be a 2 to 3 year delay in that. So the normal schedule for the MCP from start to finish is generally 6 years. And in all likelihood, this is the largest site of its kind in the state, and in all likelihood, it's going to run much longer than 6 years. That's me talking. That's not no official stance anywhere. But if I had my crystal ball, that's what I'm saying. George?
Again, within that chart you're looking at, it's the MCP chart, which addresses in different phases what you have to do at a hazardous waste site, and how you identify. So the phase 2 is defined as nature and extent, which is where is the PFAS plume or the contaminants, both horizontal and vertical. We have to define, and by doing that, you define what your responsibilities are to do remediation. What went on over the last few years, and it was nicely put that we put what's called these POET systems. So there's no IH conditions, which is called an imminent hazard. That's part of the preliminary phase 1. So the phase 1 was complied with. The phase 2, because of the magnitude and the size and the breadth of the wells and the identification and the turnaround time, I might add, PFAS at parts per trillion, there were very few labs, not just in Massachusetts, in the country, that actually tested for this at that levels, and specifically this different matrix. So that's where we are with the phase 2. The phase 2 will, in my opinion, again, I can't speak for the LSP or the department, but I would be surprised if it wasn't extended, because there's 60 wells proposed to be installed around that area to further delineate the phase 2. You can't do a phase 2 report until you have that data, and maybe that data might find other sources. So these are the possibilities, and Ed's right. That phase 2 will be longer. It will not be. I don't think it will be. And again, I can't speak for the LSP, but I've been doing this a lot of years as a scientist and an attorney. This is probably the largest site I've ever worked on. I go back to I developed the woman contamination site, right? So, I mean, this is a unique situation. It's unfortunate for those here, as well as the residents in that area. But we'll be transparent on where we are. The Woodland Loop we're in the process of finalizing that report, which should be done by March. Because we have to do geotechnical, because if you all live in that area, everybody knows there's a lot of ledge there. So the ledge complicates where you put your wells, and so do the septic systems at people's homes. So you have to work around, you have to design that. So all that comes into play. But again, all this is in the IRA update, the reports on the website, and I welcome all you to attend those public meetings where Larry Lassard is running it, because I'm not on that, all right? And that's where you can get a lot of the technical questions answered, as well as getting a schedule for when things are going to be done.
So in simple terms, this is the biggest PFAS dump in the history of Massachusetts. That's right,
well,
in simple
it's not a
terms.
dump.
So
Again,
everybody can understand.
Well, so this was not regulated up until 2020. The only 18 states in the country regulate PFAS. And some of them, the parts per trillion is a very, very low number. When I did the New Bedford studies back in the 80s, we were doing parts per billion, parts per million. Parts per trillion is almost a zero tolerance. And PFAS is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. So sources, all that phase 2 is going to help identify that. Your septic systems, because it's in everything you've had over the last decade, last 40, 45 years. There's two majority of two producers of that was 3M and DuPont. And that's the other side of these cases. And who's going to be responsible for those? Because Mass Natural Fertilizer, they didn't know about this. If anybody knows Bill and Diane Page, they grew up, they had a composting facility that was approved by the department. And so this is where we are. So again,
I also saw the pictures of when they came and inspected those grounds, and that the Mass Natural, when they came and did the inspections on those dumping grounds.
Yeah.
So they obviously got their license revoked, right? Like,
No,
the
it wasn't
business is
revoked,
closed
it
for
was
a
suspended.
reason.
It was suspended because nobody knew. I mean, nobody knew that this would be a regulated pollutant.
No, I'm pretty sure they did. Pretty sure they did. Nice job, though. Okay. Pretty sure they did.
No, 20. I will tell you. No, I disagree. But that's okay. That's for another discussion.
Yeah.
So I have that.
Can I
yes.
just clarify in regards to decommissioning the wells? So you want me to send out something that's confirming their plan, and then having it be for the remainder of the wells. You have it there.
I wish you to, there's a draft that you need to circulate to the other board members to see if you have any objections.
Do you want me to read it now?
No, you don't have to read it now.
I think we should clear it up while George is present, or invite him back to finalize.
I think it's everything that he said.
Yes, but if we're, okay, that's fine, then the dates are specific to these 15. So I was trying to clarify if when they move on to the remaining wells, are they informing homeowners at the time of decommissioning to not
Yes.
use, and then 3 months later, following up similar
It's-
to what the plan is, and is that agreeable, I guess, to George? Because it's not.
It basically, every one of those activities, for the wells that haven't been done yet, follow the same timeline, but the time requirement has them within 10 days of completion of all that. Okay?
So the same
By then, it
timeframe,
should be just
depending on when you.
a common form.
Yeah, those dates, I think, could be met, it's that last date that needs to be.
No, that's fine, we're saying for future wells to follow the same plan as these 15.
Again, I don't know, again, it seems to me a good, format, kind of a.
Then I'll reach out and we can make sure.
Yeah,
that
that's, yeah, I don't, I'm hesitant because I don't know the specific situation.
So, the only thing at the meeting, I think Larry was discussing about only using 4 of the 15 wells, that's what I picked out. Anyway.
Yeah, again, it could be, again, this negotiations going on.
So I did add one line item that as part of this, you need to identify which ones you want
Yeah.
as one of these.
And then we can decommission the other ones.
Right.
So again, tonight, this is a meeting in front of the Board of Health on their issues. Again, I don't know who anybody is here, but I'm trying to answer, I'm trying to answer questions to make life a little easier for you, and I don't know, and it's awkward because all I know is addresses.
Right. Exactly.
That's all I know, so, if I can answer any questions, you can put them in writing to Lassard, because he's the LSP of record. Regarding the water line, that will, Grady Associates, Grady will probably make a presentation at the DEP, probably in the next 60 days, once we get that report done on the geotechnical and the borings that should be done in March.
Are they doing borings in Woodland Drive?
Yes.
I haven't seen any, so.
Well, they haven't been able to do it because of the weather, and you need permission from the town to put borings on public ways. That's the delay is.
It took 4 years to do that.
So the bottled water that was brought up earlier, what is the process when no water is delivered? Because I'm on the last half bottle of mine.
That should go right to Lassard. There's a person by the name of Louise, I've never met her. There's another person, at Lassard who tries to handle those. The biggest problem we have, I'm addressing this to the board, is that Primo doesn't respond, or they deliver to the wrong place, or they deliver too much, and then we actually have, and if there's a discontinuance, let them know and we will be part of that transition team to try and get that water to you, because they're not responding, and with all the legal letters that we've written to them.
So what's the plan B when they don't?
Plan B is to talk to Louise, and we get Bayberry Water.
So there's
There's a second company.
So when I'm out of water, I'm SOL.
So,
No.
what I'm going to recommend to everybody is that at the end of the night, as you leave, we put my business card right on the corner of this little stand thing
Right
that's
as
up
you walk
there.
out the door.
Please take it, my email is there. If you're not getting a response, or you've reached out before and you wanna send those directly to me, I am fine to receive those and then assist in making sure that.
Yeah, Louise, it
get
goes to Louise.
Yes,
Yeah,
because I
send it
have
to
her
Louise.
contact, instead of him giving out, individually, just send everything to me
Yeah.
and I will delegate and send out.
Great.
Again, I just know people by
You
now.
know the card doesn't respond, so
Yeah.
thank you.
That's totally
No,
fine, like I
no,
said,
no.
right before you, it's right on that stand, please take them.
We'll try,
So,
we'll try and rectify
Ms.
that.
Conlin and Mr. Chairman, may I ask, please, obviously you have a room full of concerned residents that have a ton of questions, and I understand we respect this agenda today, but how can we get together and answer everybody's questions, please? How do we go about that?
I think
So
having.
I think similarly, please take my card and provide me your contact information, because what I'm doing currently is we are working with the PIP group. I've been in contact with Michelle Burt, who is one of the representatives, and we are trying to plan a time to have a meeting for residents. I know that they put on meetings, but we've not yet really been involved in that. So at this point, with their contacts that they have, I can take, all of your names, or if you wanna come up after and write a phone number right next to this, we can reach out to each of you.
Phone number,
And we
address,
can set up a time to have a time when you just, come and let us know your concerns. You also are welcome to submit those in email. We do take each comment or complaint or whatever that comes in, and we do send them out to the correct party, reach out to you and let you know what you need to do. So we are responding quite frequently to complaints. So if you guys have not, please feel free to reach out to us. That's, we're here to help support you and get you into the right direction of where things need to go.
Thank you.
But you've taken the responsibility to set up a forum.
Yes,
A
yes,
meeting.
we're more than happy to do that. We've
Right.
started having discussions, we've not set any dates or really planned it out, but we are more than willing to do that, so I can talk with Michelle after. And
Yeah, I
if any
think-
of you are not
I think
within
she's
the
communicating with
PIP group, I do
Yes.
recommend.
Yes, we're gonna coordinate with Michelle.
My neighbor, she's,
Yes.
Yeah, again,
Okay, is it?
Yes, thank you, thank you.
I do have a question for somebody who's watching on Zoom, and they wanted to know, particularly, what financial assurances have been made to complete the Woodland Drive loop to provide for that? Is there any cash set aside, any, other than, just doing those reports?
I
What
can't,
capital has been,
all right, this is me,
assessed for it?
me directing to the board, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so there's been no financial assurance?
No, he said he doesn't know.
He doesn't know. Okay, so can we please put that as a question and have?
If you wanna take my business card and email, I'd be happy to address
Okay.
or look into it. But at this point, we're going to continue.
Again, I
our
came
planned
here
agenda.
as a informational for
Yes,
the board, and I'm
yes.
addressing the board. Again, I don't know who's who in this place, I'm starting to get an idea. And so I think it's more appropriate that I address all my answers and, to the board.
That's fine. Next item, I think we got the well decommissioning in here.
Actually, the next item, we talked about the nitrate levels. We gave.
Yes, let's talk about 137. The Board of Health recognized and